1, 2.
Welcome to the Tag Me In podcast, guys. My name's Timi. I'm here with Ola and Anton. I am here today to show you guys or talk to you guys about the theory of mind, which is a topic that comes off the first episode of my podcast, which is the Mind Wanderers podcast. And so let's get going.
I feel like I'm a guest on
I know, it's different, isn't it? It's
We've been
different.
tagged in.
Why?
How does it feel, you know?
Man, my hand, I'm like,
Nah, I've got you guys.
It's still tagged me in, Anton speaking, and also...
and also Ola, come on.
Okay.
Right, so let's go into it.
Yeah, okay, so what we're going to talk about today is effectively something called the theory of mind. So theory of mind is the ability for you to think of yourself as someone else, if that makes sense. Okay. So it's a case of how would that person feel in that situation? How is this person feeling in this country? It's like being able to put your mind in someone else's mind, effectively.
Yeah.
So understand how they're feeling. If I'm going to give an example, it's if you imagine a kid, for example, a kid doesn't understand sharing when they're young, but then they get to a certain age and they realize, oh no, if I take that from someone, that person's going to feel upset. That's why the concept of sharing is always pushed onto them.
Yeah.
So it's that concept of theory of mind that we're just going to delve into here. Just have a talk around it and just see where we go from it. Yeah.
Theory of mind. I've never heard the term ever in my life before. It's the first time hearing it.
Fam, that's like that when you go on the internet, you will find out stuff that you never heard in the life. Like, I'm just telling you, sometimes it's just when you go into the dark depths of some stuff, like you'll just find out that, yo, what's this? Oh shit, so I didn't understand that. I didn't know that was about.
You go in tangents, yeah.
So the theory of mind came from the topic of mind wandering because it is a facet of mind wandering, effectively. Okay. And so within it, one thing I wanted to maybe explore was just how we empathize with each other, if that makes sense. Because in order to think of how someone else is thinking, you have to empathize with their situation, and that's the main concept in regards to that. So it's So you guys don't.
Empathy is a mad one though. Just thinking about it.
Empathy is a tough one. It's tough in the sense of why do you need to think of someone else's situation, and what benefit does that have to you, effectively? And I feel when you empathize, you can relate to people a lot more effectively, and that's a really good way to start any conversation, coming from their perspective. How are they thinking in regards to this topic? How are they thinking in regards to what I've just said to them, effectively? And when you work off that, what you're training your mind to do is just become a more conscious individual as well. So I feel like that's where there's, like, if anything, some benefit or something like that. I feel like I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna break the fourth wall. Fam, I feel so kind of weirded out.
What is it?
Not even get this is the first podcast appearance I've actually ever done. So,
okay.
Like I've never been in front of camera.
There's no camera. Wait, I've got to be empathetic. How do you feel? I can understand how uncomfortable you feel.
It is. Yeah, man's a bit sweaty.
Got the camera, it's got the microphone, the pressure.
Hey, I'm a bit missing my time. But firstly, thank you guys for having me on. Again, I've never done a podcast appearance or anything, so this is fam, I'm a virgin right now.
Come on.
I'm scared. Just take me gently in it. I'm scared. Tag me in gently.
Oh my god.
Tag me in gently.
Now we'll be gentle, but I guess obviously theory of the mind, that sort of thing. Let's start with where is it located? Where in the head is it? If it is actually a spot in the head, where is it?
Actually there is a spot. So basically it's in this area behind your ear. So just I don't know if you guys
have. There was a bump in my head.
Yeah, fam. No, it's not actually the bump, fam. It's I was like, no,
that's just random lumps on your head, bro.
But basically it's the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is located behind your ear. And so in this area, that's a lot of where the remembering functions and a lot of brain functions are effectively processed, if you want to look at it like that. So then within that area, one real, a cool thing that I actually learned when I was doing some research into it is the fact that when you're, a lot of the time when you're trying to think back to an event, a lot of people go,
the memory recall,
and they somewhat, it's like as if they're trying to look back effectively. And sometimes I somewhat think at the same time, because in the hippocampus, it's at the back of the hippocampus, that when you're trying to remember memory or something like that like when they've done like neural imaging or whatnot, that's the area of the head that starts lighting up. So it kind of makes sense that you're just like, it's like you trying to get to the crevices of that. Effectively. So it's located behind your ear, and if you were to do a neural imaging map of it, depending on what you're thinking about at that time, if you're thinking to the future, different parts of the hippocampus start lighting up. I think that's just really cool, the fact that like there's effectively a heat map for when you're thinking. So with theory of mind, it's again, I guess, it's like if you want to look at it like a timeline, if you go to the front of the hippocampus when you want to think of something in the future, go to the back when you think of the past. Theory of the mind kind of like
goes in order.
It kind of like resides in like the middle of it, innit? Because it's in the present and you're trying to think of yourself and someone else's shoes within the present.
I think it's sick. I like the fact that you mentioned that it's sort of developed at a certain age, 5, 6 in young children. But what I want to know is, even though it has been developed, can we control it? So fair enough, it's coming. Can I completely switch it off and be like, I ain't trying to hear that?
Move.
Before I answer, let me see what Anton thinks.
In terms of what, switching it off?
Yeah, switching it off. Can you switch it off?
Switch off my feelings or caring. Let's be truthful. My caring for other people. I'm going to say it from two point of views.
Okay.
Sometimes you're in scenarios where, let's say, for example, you've got a friend who is dealing with a lot, but they continuously come to you with the same issue. After a while, you have to start looking out for number one. Sometimes you have to kind of close certain doors to ensure that you're protecting yourself. So that's another reason, first reason. And the second one is, I speak a lot about stoicism, which is sometimes, understanding yourself and understanding that there's so many moving pieces in the world that everything kind of ties into you and like nothing should really truly affect you. Which does take this element of being selfish in a way. So like, I think you can, but I think it's a conscious decision. I don't think anyone's naturally going to be in the I don't care about you mode, or I don't care if you're bleeding, I'm going to step over you. Because you do see people like that, but they're constantly thinking that this is wrong. They know it's wrong when they're doing it. They're not going to just be like, oh, man's dying on the floor. I don't care if he's in pain, I'm just going to step over it. So that's my opinion.
So then you would say it's somewhat right to, would you say it's right or wrong to be able to do that? Because if everyone, in you saying that you can like maybe stop it or not like feel towards someone, that's you making a conscious decision, therefore you have to think about it at the same time. So you can never really shut it off effectively. You can just, I guess,
put the walls up, the defenses.
You can somewhat manage with it. You can manage with the feeling, but I know how that person is feeling.
Unless you get to a point where, it's kind of funny because we were singing in Icebox, if you build up that wall naturally where it just becomes a natural thing. That's the alternative side to it.
So what, train your body into...
where you just, I guess you're unfazed or you're just immune to any bullshit from anyone.
I feel... And it's not even a case of... like even being harsh or whatnot. But then when you have to put yourself first, I just feel like you appreciate what that means in the sense of you're taking away from someone. You're taking, because if you were to put them first, then you do everything. So what you're saying is that you're going to take something away from them, therefore to put yourself first. So you have to think in a sense of, can you live with that? And then can you have the sort of mental capacity to continue living a normal life, knowing that you've done that as well? And it's an interesting one.
It's interesting. So I read this book actually called Looking Up for Number One. Jay Ringer. It's a fairly old book, I think in the 80s or 90s. It's an old book, and that book specifically speaks about how it has been beneficial, and it is beneficial for us as humans and the human race, for individuals to put themselves first. So as an example, classic example, we're on a plane. When they tell you that there may be an accident, what do they tell you? put your mask on first.
Before you hate
yourself
anyone else.
It's not about being a hater. It's not about not caring for your child or anyone else. If you do not help yourself, you literally cannot help anyone else.
That's how the phrase goes.
You genuinely can't. And it's just a case of understanding that away from emotion, away from the other person's thoughts and feelings, you need to think that for you to be a productive and resourceful member of society, you sometimes have to put yourself first. In order for you to teach others how to, I don't know, farm or go fishing, you have to go fishing yourself, make your mistakes, learn, and then bring those lessons to society so people can learn. And in that, you are putting yourself first. And I think from that, and from that book, I learned that, for me anyway, there has been that evolutionary benefit of being selfish. That evolutionary benefit of isolating yourself, shutting kind of people off emotionally, doing your thing, and then bringing those skills and those characteristics to society and kind of going, hey, this is what we've learned, this is this.
Do you think, I know I'm just jumping in, but do you think, as you explained about the hippocampus and everything like that, so that's literally our primitive brains.
Yeah.
They are set up in a certain way, in a way that we should be looking out for each other because that's how we should be as humans. Just stay with me. But do you think with the demand of life and the stresses of it as we evolved over time, so we've got work, we've got the commute to work, we've got social media, we've got all these other influences that's kind of playing into our life, that now that primitive brain hasn't fully evolved to understand the fact that, as Ola's saying, he's referring to books now, of going, this is dangerous when I'm starting to look out for other people. I need to rewire that and need to kind of train the brain in such a way that you need to kind of question yourself when you're trying to be empathetic towards other people. What damage is this having towards me?
Towards yourself, yeah. That would be so, it would be so difficult. You would have to go through, I guess that's more like an experience-led thing. So you have to go through those experiences to then form your decision of, I've been in a similar situation to this. When I've looked out for myself, what have I done, like what has been the end result? When I've looked out for when I've looked out for myself, number one, like what has happened, like one phrase, if I don't look after myself, who will? And when you keep it like that, you then, you can't, it is the difficult one.
I guess there's no real right answer. And another thing that comes into my mind is I came across a phrase probably about 3 months ago, and it kind of struck a chord with me. When someone asks you to do something, so you used the example earlier of your receptionist at work, leaving party, everything like that, and you just say hello to her. You two are not really friends like that. Like you're civil, you're respectful, you say hello. You didn't really feel like you wanted to attend her leaving do. But there was something in your brain that was like, come on, how would she feel?
Yeah.
But the quote that I came across is, when you say yes to something that you don't want to do, you're saying no to yourself.
Yes, I get what you mean, yeah.
And it's like, it's a difficult balance that we live in terms of doing things because, using your example, doing things to keep other people happy at the cost of yourself. Imagine telling yourself, no, hey, I want to stay at home. No, because we said yes to so-and-so.
Fuck that, no.
I'm saying no.
I don't, if I, for me personally, if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. Like, with the receptionist one, I was tired. I don't know. Like, for me, when I'm a nice person, I'll say hello to you, and people, because it's so rare that people are nice to one another now, to the point that you automatically become someone's friend for being nice to them. You get what I mean? You know how bad that is.
You're such a great person.
It's so kind.
Yeah, exactly. Like you might as well come for drinks this Friday. You're my bestie now. So then, so I did say that I wanted to go, but then I didn't go in the end. And a lot of the time, I was feeling bad, and that's fear of mine, feeling bad because you're thinking as to how someone else is gonna feel in regards to what, in this case, me not coming to the leaving drink. But then I feel, once I told myself that at the end of the day, I'm like, and this is gonna sound funny, but I say this, we're all the main characters of our own story. And so when I say we're all the main characters of our own story, it then means you then imagine yourself being immensely important to everyone else because you're the main character of your story anyway. So why won't you be important to this B-side character? Like, do you get what I mean? Like, this B character is talking to me. Yeah, this is the highlight of the day.
They get one line.
So then, in that sense, like, so if everyone's the main character of their story, you might feel like, oh, if I don't come, all she's gonna be thinking about is Timi didn't come to my leaving drinks. But then when you realise that it's not even like that. Again, she's the main character of her story. B-side. The B-side characters that we're all just laughing at. We're all B-side characters to someone else. You know what I mean? So then, when I kind of went with that sort of idea, but all of this of just like communicating within my head of how she's feeling, how I'm feeling. All of these things are like theory of mind. Effectively, they're just you basically trying to comprehend how she's feeling towards the situation, how you're feeling towards the situation, how someone else might feel towards the situation, if someone else heard about the situation. So like, as I've told you two now, I could have been thinking, theory of mind wise, how are they gonna perceive me? Yeah, how are they gonna perceive me after I tell this story? But at the end of the day, that's how it comes about. And so in the sense of me telling myself I wasn't gonna go, yes, you don't. Sorry, went on a roundabout like. So me saying that I didn't want to go, and I was gonna look out for numero uno. For me, it's telling yourself, okay, you know what? I've made this decision on the basis that I can stomach the feeling that she might have, if that makes sense. And it's not every single time that that's gonna happen, but I guess when you can do that and you can accept it and you can continue your life in that vein, then that's when you can say, okay, I'm not doing that. I think it's healthy for you to acknowledge how someone else is feeling. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a healthy thing. But then once it's healthy enough, once you know that, okay, I understand how they're feeling, but that feeling is not going to be a life or death feeling to them. They're not going to be like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Unless it's your wife.
Yeah, and you'll gauge these things.
You don't turn up on her 30th birthday. And you said who's going to be there.
You're in for it now.
Like, wow, I was tired though.
You know, you do in that situation. You wait for the Saturday, and then after you do something, surprise!
It was yesterday, Timi.
You thought, innit? You thought.
Get that far,
What? You thought it was going to be on your birthday? Of course you expected a surprise on your birthday. Yeah. Why wouldn't you be expecting it? That's not a surprise.
Is this what happened? This is a fear of mine.
I tried it once, it didn't work.
I was thinking about you, and my theory of mind basically told me that you would not appreciate anything on your birthday. You would appreciate it the next day
because you weren't expecting it. Yeah, it's a surprise.
Element of surprise. Yeah. That's what we like to see. Like.
I think there's also that difficulty in terms of understanding. Because I know, like with empathy, you're trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes, trying to understand how they would feel in a situation. But I think there's a difficulty with fully understanding another person when we don't even fully understand our own behaviour. We don't even understand how we react to certain situations.
Yeah. Because everyone's different, and we all see that in our relationships with different people. Because you'll be like, why are you taking certain situations like that? And I guess that's the fear when you can manage knowing that you're disappointing someone, because you might have told yourself, well, it's not that deep. Like they might be a bit upset, they might be a bit angry, but it's not anything. Yeah. But then you might not know how that person reacts to situations, how their mental state is or whatnot, and so they've taken that completely left. Completely left.
For me, but it goes back to that point about perception and that, like you said, we all deal with things very sort of differently. So to you, it's like, she's fine. But to her, you could have been, in this example of the receptionist, you could have been literally the only person that goes out his way in the morning to say good morning, to say hi. She's like, man. Do you know what I mean? It's perception. I hate that. It just kind of falls back. That's the thing. But this is reality in certain situations.
That's what was going through my head. He's there, 9 o'clock in the morning. No, Timi didn't come in today.
Maybe I'll it does kind of fall down to sort of perception. Everyone kind of sees things. I'm getting worried for you now, man. Monday morning, he's just going to be like, hey.
Remember, it was like leaving drinks. So I must have had that in mind. But if I don't go, it's technically because you're not going to be here anymore.
Okay.
So there's no fear.
Let's just hope she just doesn't come in like, hey, you never came on. Then you leave this building.
Yeah, I left my coat here.
You know those scenes there, you know those like movies when someone's like says something, they're just like, I'm out. So he said, because she had two different. She had one week on a Thursday. I couldn't go to that, but she had one the following week.
That was just for you.
This guy.
Can it come with your real rage?
Mitigating the situation. Basically, I know he's not gonna come for the first one. Like he's gonna par that off. So what you have to do is you double up, you double down. But then like in regards, like sometimes you won't understand how someone else has taken a certain event, and that's where there's room for growth, innit? Like I guess when someone's taken a certain situation a way you never expected, I feel like instead of you saying why are you thinking like that, what the fuck, that's a room for you to be like, why are you thinking like that? Maybe even talk to me. Do you get what I mean? Like, let me find out a bit more. It's not to say you haven't fucked up. You still fucked up. Like, they're still gonna be angry.
You trying to understand like, where you're coming from.
I fully saw already, but I can't say. Yeah. So literally, yeah. If they've taken it wrong, and they also have to have validity in what they're saying. Do you get what I mean? Don't just because someone's upset take everything they're saying, because some people can just be irrational. And when you're angry and emotions are high, both guys and girls, you can get emotional and just be irrational. So when you're trying to, I'm trying to think how they're gonna take it, you can just say to yourself, I'm taking all of this with the, I guess, what do they say? What's that caveat? With a caveat, with a caveat that you're thinking maybe a bit irrationally at the moment. Do you get what I mean?
With a pinch of salt.
So, but then it is a good avenue to learn. Okay, you're feeling like that because of this, and maybe I did this, and that. Some people, not everyone is gonna take what I did the way I would take it. Some people will take it your way, and for that, I'm sorry. I've learnt now, and that's you always have to put the sorry down. Right? Sorry, it just levels it out a bit.
What are you sorry about?
I love you too, though. So
go on. No. I was gonna say, I guess with this sort of topic of, I'm just trying to obviously wrap my head around this theory of mind and thought and that sort of thing. How does it relate to my way of thinking? If you are aware, I guess this is something that we can kind of go into. So we've obviously spoken about the kind of sympathetic, empathetic kind of scenario, which obviously relates to sort of emotions and putting ourselves in someone else's shoes. But looking more inward, thinking about theory of mind and my emotions for myself, for oneself, is there correlation?
I would say it then links in with another factor of the my wondering part, remembering past events, because that's what you can base stuff off.
Okay.
So then if you're thinking, how am I? Is it like how you're perceived effectively
in your own self?
How you perceive your own self? Like double is
it's weird. Like I don't know if you ever knew about this YouTube channel called Vsauce.
No.
It was amazing. So they kind of touch on like these scientific topics and stuff. And I forgot what it was called, but they did discuss the whole kind of movie concept, and that in your head you only think about yourself really, and you don't really think about the Uber driver when he leaves. But he's got his own life, and he's the like head of his show. He's the star kind of thing, and it was that concept, and it also linked to you thinking about yourself from the outside. It's like a weird sort of ghost alien view of like, how am I? What
I love that.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's so interesting. I know there's a concept for it. I don't know what it's called.
I call it the cameraman.
Yeah. It's so like.
And so I like even as you're saying this now, I've never heard someone explain it in that way, in the sense of, because I'm always talking to people that I might correct myself mid-sentence because I've seen how I've said that. Like, if I say something to one of you guys and I feel like it might offend you, like, just because maybe I'm too self-aware, if you want to call it that, but then if you're too self-aware, you will be registering every single word you say, the tone you say it, how someone else can perceive it. And sometimes it's good because you can really read situations. Like, sometimes when I'm in situations, I can really read them, like how someone said something, but then they might not be able to because they're not looking at the themselves. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't like it because it means that I'm too self-critical as to what I'm saying, and I won't get out what I really need to say. But
there's
then
like a filter or something.
exactly. But then, in terms of how is it to train yourself, like to train your?
I guess it's the awareness, but yeah, if you wanna, like, we can go into the training of it.
I wouldn't even say it's true. It's if you're gonna train yourself. In that it comes off the experience of how people are receiving it now.
Because I would say it's self-awareness as well.
Yeah.
Just being aware of what you might, like you said, that kind of self-awareness and that critical aspect, but not being overly critical. So maybe me just maybe me having a view over there of like, I wonder what I look like today. I wonder what I look like when I'm on the bus, what do people kind of see and think and at work and how I speak and how I'm perceived by my family and how that links to the way I kind of see myself and thinking about the theory of mind. And like you said, linking it to past events, things you've experienced and how that shapes who you are today and how past experiences kind of, mold you as a person in this day and age, in the present moment, and thinking about that linkage.
One good thing I would probably recommend to people, one thing I do all the time, is just ask people how they see you. Like, literally.
That would be, I don't think I've ever really done.
So, 360 review that you do.
Oh, that one's at work. Hey, John.
And it sounds so weird. I've been on dates before, and I'll be like, so, how do you like? Maybe that's why the dates never continue. But
this guy kept asking me about himself. Like, order your pasta, big man.
Yeah, like because when I meet people and I say this as not even trying to be arrogant, not even genuinely ask people, how do you see me? What's your perception of me? If you're to describe me in 3 words, what would it be? I've done this with people I've met just to see if I was to have like because they're gonna be coming from an objective. There's no bias. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have to pander to you. They don't have to. And like, maybe you guys have started talking in a dating sort of like realm, but then, so maybe you're being a bit nicer. But genuinely ask people. And for me, I feel like when you want to see oneself, you can't see oneself.
Yeah.
Someone else. You need a mirror, innit?
What have those mirrors told you? The people you've asked, what have they said to you? Especially the ones on dates. Don't go quiet now. Don't filter now.
You're trash. I'm going home now.
I pay that real quick. We have to go.
Hey, split that. Split the bill.
What would I say? Talkative. I know I talk so much. Like, I've always known this. Basically, I talk so talkative is one. Intelligent is another one, which I would like, and is a nice one. But then I think it's because like I try to talk to girls about different stuff, like not just one thing. So maybe.
I was watching on TV. No, I know that.
Yeah, fam, when people was like, I have no issue. I have no issue with you liking reality. Catfish is one of my favorite shows. Like, literally, I could watch Catfish
on YouTube.
Yeah. The whole day, I'll be like, yo.
It was his sister. Nah, Merkage.
You know what I mean? I don't mind that, but then if you have nothing further to that, you know what I mean? If you have nothing called substance, and substance too is different for many different people.
Very subjective.
Yeah, it's very subjective. But then I would even say substance goes as far as to how much passion you have towards it, how much you know about it. You get what I mean? Because let's say you really, like for me, I was just like, one time when I was telling people I love watching TV shows, I was just like, why can't I say that's my hobby? Do you get what I mean? Why can't I say? And the only difference between me saying I like TV shows and someone saying he has a passion for TV shows is just basically, if I was to be like, do you know this director? Do you know about this? Did you know this studio? Did you know this? Do you know this? Do you know? And so then, but then, so effectively, when it comes to me, it's intelligent, talkative, and I don't know.
He's like, let me not release this last.
I'm fully an open book. I'm willing to tell.
What's on your Tinder profile, bro?
Tinder profile. Oh, I've got one.
Swipe.
I've got one. No.
Yes,
No. So I'll say they say intelligent, talkative, and then I'll just say friendly. Like. No, that's not even a good one. That's I don't get friendly. I want to get friendly.
You're really nice, but you know.
I'm not even,
he doesn't even know.
I can't even think of it.
But I think like the issue with that one, there's not an issue with it, but identity is probably one of the biggest things that everyone is challenged with individually. And then when you're at a point of getting, let's call it feedback from everyone else, those characteristics that they might start labeling with might be completely different to who you want to be or who you want to be remembered by, right? So like that could also cause an internal conflict within yourself. Like, oh man, people think I'm, I don't know, friendly.
Now friendly. If anyone comes to me, I'll be like, hey, you're friendly.
Hey, you're a friendly brother, you know.
Don't move.
Some friendly you.
You are what you are, innit? Like, and you can't fight it. But then, like you were saying, like with the internal conflict, I feel like people should take that more as that's what the mirror is showing you. You might not like what the mirror is showing you, but that's what it is. Like, I've got a mirror in my house here. We call it the bathroom mirror. Yeah, that is the true mirror in our house. When they say, "Oh, you go to the mirror," there's one in the front landing, and there's one in
natural light.
You got the Instagram, but you got the real world.
You got the real world one. When you go to the real world one, and it shows you, oh no, you got a spot here.
The 4K.
So
wrinkles.
And so I feel like that's why people are sometimes. And also, not every mirror is the best in it. So some mirrors can be a bit refracted. So when they do give you your reflection, it's not exactly what it should be. So if you see people as walking mirrors, effectively for your persona, you can come to a conclusion of who you think you are. But that's always going to be subjective. It's going to be biased to a degree. When you're talking to various people that, and I would say more do it with people that have nothing to gain from you effectively. Just people you've initially met before, like you might meet. So I've just met Anton today, innit? And I would ask you, but I won't. You don't even like. You wouldn't even need to build that rapport to a degree. You've just spoken to me for a little bit. What do you think?
First impressions.
Yeah, first impressions count so much to me.
They really
because
do.
it's how you're acting normally, how you're acting naturally, and so that's why when people come across as a really like.
Do you reckon that's natural? Because a lot of people, first impressions could be in a nervous stage. So would that then, a lot of people be like, translate in a way.
If they're nervous and that'll translate into like their first impression.
Or other people's first impression of them, like, oh, first impression, you're a nervous guy.
That's you. Like that's you. And again, if people are giving you a frank reflection of yourself, down to you. Are you change what you can't accept to set what you can't change yourself? Isn't that
It's a mixed one. Why not mixed one?
Go check the fingers.
Because I've learned from Man's in poetry, fingers.
Man's in Paris.
One thing I've learned, like, especially in the dating world, first impressions does count, but then also you have to allow people time and space to kind of adjust themselves to like an environment. Like, there's been people that I probably have discounted from the first impression, and there's been times where I've kind of been like, all right, first date, second date.
But you know what?
This person's cool.
On that point, though, I think for me, this is where it goes back to the whole sort of evolutionary older part of the brain, monkey side of the brain, where your survival was dependent on those snap judgments. It was dependent on those first impressions. Yes, flight or fight. Is this thing going to kill me or am I going to eat it? It was as simple as that. That part has remained with us until now. Yeah. And I think it's about, again, having that awareness to be like, actually, you know what? This person may give me a bad impression. Let me give them that time that you mentioned.
That's what I mean.
To see that other side of them that is sensitive, that is amazing and can make me go, actually, you know what? First impression wasn't great, but as an individual, you're on point. Yeah. Where are we going from here? And even on from that, I think it does, and I don't want to go too much off on a tangent, but it does sort of link to, I think, social media and our generation and our age, where everyone, to a certain degree, in my opinion, is sort of trying to do their thing on social media. They're putting forward this image of themselves, and I've noticed that with certain people, they're putting forward the same image. And I don't really understand why. I don't know if it's to kind of just, if we're all in the same camp, we're all the same, we fit in. Some people are losing their individuality. Yeah. I don't understand it.
Conformity.
I'm like, what's the kind of need? I know there's comfort in it, and again, for me, that relates to older days where you are safest in a massive group. And I feel that has just translated now into social media and other platforms. And it's like, do you, man? Do what makes you
I think it's very challenging to go against the grain for a lot of people, because if you're going to go into the primitive brain thing again, your thing is being social connections and standing in. The moment you're kind of kicked out of a group, you're out there in the wilderness by yourself. So if you're different, then that creates opportunity for people to attack you. So you're going to try and conform. So if it's a positive image. So like, for me, I see Instagram in such a way that you can put certain major influencers into categories. like they do have their unique characteristic, but one could be they're about positivity, another one could be about vulnerability. That is them.
Got their own angles.
Yeah, and I think like you have to kind of find that kind of circle for you. But I think it's greater when you find those people who kind of go wow, and they're like completely different from anyone else, and they own it, and then people like that about them.
And I think it works now because again, there was an evolutionary benefit to being in a group and crowd, whereas now you are strong as an individual.
Yeah.
I think for me anyway, I'm like, you can stand and be against the grain. Like you said, you will stand out. People will respect you for what you stand for as long as you're strong and you are like, this is what I'm about.
But you're gonna feel this moment of loneliness. You see the other side.
But that's part of the. It's like that phrase.
That's
It's lonely at the top.
Yeah.
Like, that's just part of the. If you're going against the grain, this is what you're going to do.
That's the growth stage. Yeah, I would say that period where you're on your own, like just and people are just like, who's this guy? Like, why is he
This
doing
guy's
this?
different.
We're wearing blue. Why is he wearing green?
Kind of thing.
They come out of it.
Exactly, and when you're out there by yourself, it's in that process you're forming your confidence, or your confidence is growing, because it's either someone meets you, or I stay here by myself, or I go back to what everyone else is doing. In fact, you got those three options. If you then decide to stay, sooner or later you're just like, oh, ain't too bad around here. I mean, after someone just like, hey, what's he doing over there?
Let me go buck him.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Hey, there's more room here.
You're over there at first, and you're just like, fuck, why am I here? Da, 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 da. I need to get back to the side where everyone else is at. But then you're still there because it's you at the end of the day. I mean, once you know it's you, you're comfortable. I mean, people love confidence because we all lack it to a degree ourselves, and that's why when we see someone with so much confidence, it's contagious, because we all want some of their confidence to rub off on us, and we want to be that sort of confident person as well. So then, with that, I feel it's a case of, if you were to, I don't know, this is what happens with me, like mind wandering, like it's gone off on one. I mean, after I'm just like, now you have to bring that. I literally feel like I'm gonna need like a real noise or something like that. Like,
Come back home.
where were we?
Like for me, I think in twos as well. I think in 2s, 3s, and 4s, and my trails always go all over the place.
Yeah.
Mind wandering.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like when you're mind wandering, thinking of different topics, and then after you're also looking for links to topics as well. And like one thing I like about the topic of like when you just think of mind wandering is when you've watched all these movies, when you're trying to solve a problem, like what normally happens. They've been taught by an old grandmaster who knows everything, like been taught like literally the curriculum. Yeah. They go through that. Then they meet someone, they can't beat them. They've done it 1,000 times, can't beat them. Then they're just like, fuck this. Go work in like an ice cream parlor or something like that. Then they see one random janitor doing wipe on, wipe off, wax on, wax off. And then they're just like, if I use that wax on, wax off technique and then apply it to this, and for me, that's what mind wandering is. It's being able to like sometimes have all these different thoughts, but be making all these references and links to each other to be a problem solver in a way as well. And I feel like there's that analogy is so well used within so much of entertainment effectively, and in real life situations as well, that people are just like, so like if you were to ever have a chance, just find out like the top 10 like genius ideas that have come out of someone who's just been like on the road. I think Einstein had a similar sort of thing. Some of his like greatest best ideas have come about on a stroll kind of thing. Because then you make links towards certain things, and then it allows your head to get out of the cage, right? Is the curriculum of what you've learned, if that makes sense. And then you can have different ideas infiltrate that cage. One of them might not pop off, one of them does pop off, and then now you've opened up this branch of like some useful resource to.
I guess that's the other side of it as well, that sometimes we're taught, especially I guess through school and everything, is to limit that mind wandering, that kind of that genius mode, you know, that creativity mode that will allow you to come up with a new idea. Like, hey, let's make an iPhone. No one was sitting there going, iPhone time, how do you do it? Someone was sitting there going, it would be genius if I did this, and then it's been like this or that, and the future could be like this.
Exactly.
It's creating that space to allow yourself to go, ooh, what could be?
What could be?
My mind is wandering now. A lot of what I'm hearing. A lot of what I'm thinking. A lot of what I'm thinking now is like the whole concept of mind wandering has a lot of benefits.
but it's painted in a different way, I believe.
That's again, that was what I was going to come into in that. Like, you kind of just touched on it in that school teaches you structure, curriculum, A, B, C, D. I don't know if you remember, there was this thing that went viral like a couple years ago. It's weird, it was like this cartoon sort of thing where these kids, I think they were in school or something, or they were like puppets, I can't remember what it was, but then they were like, oh, what do you think? Then the person said the colour, then the thing was like, no, then it just painted everything like black, and it went really dark. It was weird.
What?
It was, yeah, bro, it was weird.
Well, I can't remember his name.
I need to find it, but the concept behind it was that they were trying to show that school limits creativity, and it forces you into this mindset of, do what we tell you. If you deviate, there's something wrong with you. If you're creative, if you like colours, no. Black and white, go to school, blah, blah, blah. And again, I think it's quite detrimental in that a lot of the greatest ideas that have come, like you said, have come from people like Einstein, Tim Ferriss, who have been wondering and thinking about random thoughts. Things, a lot of, if you look at, again, I watch random videos, and a lot of the inventions we have, they haven't come from structure. They haven't come from, let's sit down, like you said, make an iPhone. They've come from someone falling down a staircase, or just something random. Someone smoking a spliff with butter in it or something. Oh, man, like, it's been the most random things, and it's like, let's make fudge, and then fudge has been made.
Have you guys watched? Sorry.
No, but like, the point I'm making is like the most random things. I'm like, this seems like something that needs to be encouraged in school. Like, for me, we need to have minor wondering lessons.
Yeah.
Forget geography.
Or just like an hour, just
even half an hour.
I say this at my workplace.
Because even with Google, this is how isn't this how they came up with Gmail and all the other great things they come up with. At the end of the day, I think they said that like 4 p.m. or a certain time on a Friday, people don't work. They just sit down on beanbags. They chill. They eat.
Oh, they're employees.
It's called It's a concept, but that's where some of their best ideas have come from. Their best ideas, and I'm like, this is it. Like you've clocked it. They've clocked it.
I think in everyday life, people are problem solving. I guess let's call it work. You know, you've got work problems, you're problem solving. Maybe you've got issues when you commute to work, you're thinking of solutions. But I think a lot of the problems sometimes you ever find yourself before going to sleep. That's when your problems start to come and they start shouting loud. They're like, "Oh, we've got this problem to solve." And they always say that the best way to solve it is by falling asleep, and then hopefully by the morning you resolved it. And it's literally because your brain's doing that processing while you're asleep. You ain't got no other distractions. It's like you've kind of done this tunnel thing where there's no other distractions, and you're literally in that mind. Your mind's going, all right, 1 + 1. That's 2, you know. We've done it. Morning.
What you just said goes to something that I call Candy Crush analogy.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you, because it literally linked up so well with that. Candy Crush is a game that you play, like, do match whatever, but you can get to some levels that are mad difficult. You can get to some levels that are mad, like, you will be there for ages and you will not make any progress whatsoever. You know the ones with the skull faces where it's just like, no, you're gonna be here for a little bit. So then, like, you're playing, you've done, like, after you've lost your 5 lives, you wait another 20 minutes for your next fight, like, you've been playing this game, and then after you're just like, well, fuck it. And what used to happen with me a lot of the time here is I could, like, try a certain Candy Crush level consistently for days, and then after it just wouldn't work out, and then leave it like 4 or 5 days, and then after that one, this is what I'm meant to do. I do it in the first go, and so I'm not to say that I've got any external information or source, but it's just allowing your head to maybe just breathe effectively and think outside of because once you get into a habit of this is how I'm going to solve this puzzle, this is how I'm going to solve this puzzle, this is how I'm going to solve it. It's not fair. Exactly. And so then I've left it for a couple of days and I'm just like, okay. I've done the level. Do you get what I mean? And and so when I say mind wandering, is in that particular analogy, it's not happening in that analogy, but it's the same sort of thing. It's leaving your mind, just letting it breathe for a bit. And when you allow it to breathe, that's when it's able to, okay, where am I? I can take in all this information and maybe look for a different sort of method instead of this like regimented sort of way I've been dealing with it all this time. So that's where I feel like mind wandering does allow you, because you see it all the time, and these analogies don't come about from, like, there's no smoke without fire in it. There's something there in it, and there's something of when you go, like, you see boxers, like, they'll go to some training like wrestling or something for like arm strength or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
it's
outside
just
the box
outside
thinking,
the box thinking, and it's so crucial to have that, because if you have that, you're gonna be that person in like a meeting room or like a boardroom, bringing ideas up. People aren't, why? Like first people, why was you even thinking about that? And then it's just like, but now that we are here and you
It
brought
clicks.
it clicks, and like it's just being able to, like when you can think like that, it just helps you. It helps you in so many different ways of life, in terms of problem solving, in terms of being able to be open to ideas, because when you're mind wandering at the same time, like you'll be able to open to certain ideas, being like, okay, maybe you can do it like that. And then after someone then qualifies it for you, do you know what I mean? And so that's what I feel like is so good about the concept, and we'll do it. That's what no one can say they don't mind one though. Like unless you're
Disciplined minds.
unless you're brain dead, everyone is mind wandering. You're all thinking, well, as we're all talking now, we're all thinking of 3 different things as it is, but we're still having our conversation at the same time. So like I feel like there's a lot of room for people to gain that capacity to allow their minds just to think about so many different things, and then make those links, make those in references and whatnot, and then it doesn't even have to bring anything, just do it as a healthy brain exercise effectively, and
It's just like taking a dog to a park. Just let it do its thing.
Go do your thing. You run around, go take your
Whoa, I'm going too far. Put it off the leash. Let it just do what it needs to do, okay? But no, I think it's definitely like one of those powerful things that I think, like you said, everyone does it, but I think a lot of people don't realize how powerful it is, or it can be. And again, I think it's important to exercise it in the same way you exercise a muscle. I was going to say muzzle. I think you can exercise.
That's what your dog needs.
Muzzle. I think people can exercise that ability to mind wander even further or more creatively. And one things that helped me are definitely YouTube videos. I watch the most I just go off on tangents. I could start off on a music video. Next one, I'm looking at astrology and
rabbit hole.
You just keep going down. Obviously, books help. Looking at different
Books,
concepts and
definitely.
different books, reading different people's opinions and seeing different ways of views. Listening to podcasts, for example, Tag Me Podcast. Quick plug about our website. Quick plug within the episode. Movies as well. Some amazing movies that I've just thought, how did this guy come up with this concept? Like, what was the one we spoke about? Was it The Prestige?
Prestige.
Like that concept. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just there are movies that I watch. I'm just like, I'm like, was this person high? I'm just like, what were you going through? What were you thinking that you came up with this amazing concept? And it's just it's interesting to see how, because the world around us, I think, has been developed and created through mind wandering. People have just wondered, they've come up with these concepts, and they've come into reality. Think about the internet. The guy who met what was this person thinking?
I want to talk to that computer.
Bro, what was this person thinking that made them say, I'm going to make a platform or whatever that will become the... Do you know what I mean? There are just so many... Some things we can perceive and comprehend. But like, even if you go back to caveman times, painting, when they started to paint in the sort of caves, that just goes back to basic expression, which is linked to theory of the mind. Just thinking, I'm just like, we are... Not even to gas, we are amazing. We've done like on a reel, we've done bits like to the sky, out of orbit, to the deepest, to Titanic.
These questions.
No, I'm talking about the good things. I'm talking about the good things you've done.
I mean, I was more questioning like the moon landings. Like when you said the sky, I'm one of them.
No, you know we sent one out. We sent one out. There's some I forgot what it's called. We sent something out in like the 80s.
But
it's just past the sun.
Yeah, in it. Oh, what? Or like
it was some massive like. It's just like it was like an aerial. Basically.
Oh yeah.
And we put like records and messages. I like it's called.
I don't like. Sorry, now this is actually going on. The moon landing.
You're not on it.
Nah. I'm not having it. You cannot tell me, computers used to be as big as this room back in when they were saying that people went to the moon in 1969. Computers were as big as this room, or if not bigger than this room.
Yeah.
And so you're telling me,
Big boy rocket.
Yeah, big boy rocket. He sent all these men up there, The first time you've gone to the moon, everything works out perfectly.
That wasn't the first time. That was not the first time.
It wasn't the first time.
It was part of the arms race.
But it's the first time they did it successfully. That you man have a camera that's... That camera looked like a Big Brother camera. Like the way, the way that camera was. Yeah. Neil Armstrong. He's just bouncing along the moon right now. And later on, they're gonna paint the flag. But yeah, you can't tell me that was the last time humans touched the moon. Ever since then, people have just been going to international space stations. Yeah. So the last time was 1969 when computers were as big as this room. Those computers. Where's my phone? Those computers are nothing to our phones right now. They're not even 0.1% of our phones right now. Yeah. So you're telling me that we've got this far with technologies where like that big ass computer is as big as this phone and we can't send another person up there, but it was that easy back then. All I think it was, like, honest to God, it was America and Russia were just like, we need to get there. America were in their heads, shit, we don't know how to do it, but we've got this really cool guy who's building these Star Wars movies. He has a studio set. We can do this.
Man gets to work with the CGI. Like, come true.
He knows what he's doing, kind of thing. And do you know how many times we've seen videos come out, like ads and stuff, and you're like, how did they clear that? Like, who said that? I'm pretty sure that is what everyone was saying when they saw the moon landing videos and they saw the flag, and they were just like, they don't back to go through.
When they
did
not
watch it?
Fam, it's crazy because even on that, because there's a lot of conspiracy theories around it. There's literally it. And apparently, when America and Russia were kind of going for this arms race, and America were like really like they were struggling.
Yeah.
This was when apparently they made the microwave, they made remote controls, they basically made a lot of things
like byproducts
out of that. And I'm just like, look at what
people have.
Look at how when we put our minds to it, when we literally let our minds wander, look at what we've achieved.
Yeah.
And those things are literally everyday parts of lives today.
But
can you imagine life without your phone or the internet?
Yeah.
Done out here.
Nah, we're
done.
I lost my phone though, like literally.
You felt it's pain. I lost it for a week, fam. Pity. And I was like, this is bad.
I lost it. Yeah, we were coming back from the manga museum. I was telling you that. And literally, I was wearing a jacket. Things always fall out of that jacket. I don't know why I wore it that day. Anyway, now we take 2 trains. I get off at Victoria now, and next thing you know, I'm just like,
where's my phone?
And once I had accepted that, okay, my phone is not with me. It is not in any of the bags. Oh, sorry, it's not in any of the bags. Not in my pocket. I stood for like 5 minutes. I mean, the thing is, you know when you're thinking of certain conversations you have to get back to, innit? And you're just like, how am I even going to explain this one? Like, what? You lost your phone?
Oh, you lost your phone. How convenient.
Oh, babe.
Timi.
Surprise!
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. But yeah, no. All those byproducts that came out of the moon landing are effectively why I'm kind of
moon landing.
Yeah,
question mark.
You can't cut this guy's not
happy.
I get so angry, you know, because like it's in our history now, and we all know it's a lie. We all know it's a hard damn lie, and we're always just like, yeah, when was the first moon landing? 1969. You know, it is not.
They get away with that's a madness they got away with then.
Are you man jumping on the Area 51? Running up on Area 51.
Are they still doing that? They probably killed other people already. I've got his IP address, go get him.
See what they said? They're like, come, we're ready for you.
You know what they said?
Need to feed on these aliens, son.
Where's Max? He was going to lead us.
Literally, when I saw that stuff, I was just what? But when you deep it, you're just like, what could they do? Like,
I want it to happen.
You see the...
So what are they hiding? Yeah.
What the fuck are they hiding? Like, you know the ones. Like,
why are you so worried? Let us in like a museum.
Like, you know when you see a barrier, and you see like the national grid behind it, you be like, I will die if I go there. So it's probably there's just buildings there. So unless you can show me what's gonna kill me inside, why not allowed inside?
Should be a museum.
Right now.
When is that? They got official. Now they got a date.
I think it's September like 14. Like that's the thing. There's nothing about this day. It's just a random day in September.
And I know, Americans. Someone's gonna pull up Instagram live.
All pulling up.
Area 51. What's good? What are you saying, man?
Someone said like they're never gonna shoot you. They're just gonna vaporize. Like Endgame. You think that shit is a joke?
I get it from somewhere.
See someone outside the Area 51 gate.
Thanks.
What? You might wanna go. Yeah, no. But going back to byproducts of mind wandering. What you said? Microwaves. You said.
It was microwaves. It was.
There's a lot of technology.
A lot of technology. And again, even just looking at, like you said, look at the phone. Look at, like you said, it used to be a massive room that could do the same power that your little phone can do. And even on the phone can do what your phone does.
I think that's just like
camera does.
It echoes the whole fact of we as humans elevate on other people's successes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you talk about being in, IBM was supposed to be the first people that came out with the computers, and it was a big tall computer that lived in a library, and now it's in our pockets. And it's like someone took that first idea, built a computer, and then over time, so I was like, we can make this similar. We can evolve this. We can do this. We can do that.
That's the term for it. Sorry, Scott. That's the term. It's standing on the shoulder of giants. But they've done that. Then you then stand on that. You can see that bit more than you can. And
Next level.
That's why everyone is so enthralled with Steve Jobs, because he had to have he had to break down the curriculum of what phones were at the moment, which was buttons on buttons. Having a home screen was never heard of. Like there's apps. No one's heard of this stuff. And you might meet some rebuttal for it, but then it's in the it's that again is the growth process as well. Being able to be hit with whatever, but then keep your mind open, because that rebuttal is essentially people trying to no. Bring it back within your curriculum. Bring it back within the cage. Bring it back, and so then then we have really special people in the world who can go that extra step and be like, no, I don't care. I'm still gonna go, even if it flops. That is where it is effectively.
It's crazy,
but
man.
It is.
Because just thinking about, so this guy went to bed thinking about iPhone. Let's not example this concept. And now we've literally, Anton's got it in his pocket. You've got it in your pocket.
Everyone's got it. There was what? I'm trying to think of what documentary it was that I was watching, but it was about Apple. And when you just watch the trajectory of the company, and then how it flipped everything on its head with the iPhone effectively, and you're like you said, that's just one person just thinking.
Visionary.
Yeah.
Let's not credit it just to one person.
Yeah. The co-founder but he's beefing them now. He's coming out with so many different things I want to sign up to Apple, and just like no. Don't do that. Like don't be a hater. Like you were there for a little while. It's like England with the EU. That group is shit.
Fun you, man.
You were here for like 30 years. Like everything that we have there, you were part of.
We didn't want to get in the first place.
Let's not even get onto the Brexit debate. That stuff can give headaches. It can give headaches.
It's been 2 years. It's been a painful one. Anyway,
it's a very painful one. Right. So where are we going now? What, to protest?
I'm not protesting you. I'm going to change the world.
51.
Come on, guys, just think outside the box. Mind wander. We can do this.
I think those are your final words.
Just get shut up.
We through that.
Yeah. But that's it. I have to push through that. That's the whole mind. I have to push through it. I've got an idea. I have to push through.
Believe in it.
I gotta believe in it. But yeah, there's with mind wandering, there's the emotional aspect of it, being able to think of someone else. But there's also this sort of business-minded aspect of it, and trying to push forward ideas of whatever. Maybe
it could be ideas. It could be changes. It could be causes.
Anything. And it's just people thinking outside the box and then being willing to push through it effectively. And so that's why I think it's just a really cool concept.
It's an important concept to kind of, I don't know. I think that the challenging bit is the empathy side. I think out of it all,
it's because empathy is complex.
Yeah.
Like when you go into business, does it make money? Does it not make money?
It could.
But then when you go to emotional, you can never go inside for now. You can't go inside someone's head effectively. And so with that, that's why when it comes to fear of mind, being able to think of yourself as being able to think as though you're someone else, is so difficult, because you have to. Emotional intelligence is the big thing, and so that fear of mind is effectively what it is, because what they're trying to tell you is your manager think as to how that employee is going to feel after you say that, and your brain has to be able to have that ability to take away the fact you're the manager, think as though you're that employee effectively. And so, if you want, you could link it to emotional intelligence effectively. And the more emotional intelligent you are, the more you'll be able to use the better your grasp of your ability to mind wander and have the theory of mind. If you're trying to, I'm trying to like
piece it all together.
Yeah. You see what I mean?
I can see the connection.
And you see, this is what mind wandering is. See what we've just taken references from one place and then trying to emotional intelligence. You said, let's go back to the emotional side of mind wandering, and through that we then got onto the topic of emotional intelligence. Then now it's trying to link those two. Once you've linked those two, is there something else you can add to it? And then it's a constant thing that you're always going through. And I feel like once people can acknowledge it and not stifle themselves, because remember they said like you said in school, they tell you don't think, like they try to stifle you so that you can learn the curriculum. But then once you have the ability or the capacity to think outwards like that, do it as much as you can.
The world's yours.
Exactly. Exercise it as much as possible.
The world is yours. The takeover starts now.
Trust.
No, I like that. You know, I think we might sort of bring this episode to a close. Before we do, any sort of last messages you want to give out to people regarding mind wandering?
In regards to mind wandering, I would say always be open to ideas. That would be the first thing I say. One thing I always do, I'm very liberal with people's ideas. There's no, when I was doing work experience at Bank of England, the head of risk management said to me, "There's nothing such as a stupid question. Just ask it." And then and mind wandering is you asking yourself what could be perceived as a stupid question, but then turns out to be a brilliant idea effectively. Exactly. So be open to ideas. Give yourself that time to think about it. If anything, I used to sometimes just go for a walk in the park, and all these things sound like, who's finding time to walk in the park? I've got stuff to do. You get what I mean? Like, okay, don't do it in a walk in the park. On your journey into work, do it. Okay, if you're not going to do it then, on your journey coming back from work, do it. And it's not every day, it's not every week. I'm not going to prescribe like a certain routine to it, because I'm not a doctor. But I would say as much as you can, try think outside the box, brainstorm as to ideas, try think of how that other person is feeling. All these things even sound like exercises as I'm talking about them, do you know what I mean? So do all of these things, and what you'll then find is that you're becoming a more well-rounded person, because you're thinking of more, you have more variety to you, and then you have more variety in how you deal with people as well. And these things are priceless when you're going through life effectively. So that's what I would tell people. Just try your best, if anything, to be open to ideas, and then
the nuggets.
Try it. That's what it is when you're mind wandering about trying to find information.
Come on. And for people listening in, where can they find you? So social media platforms, and a bit about the podcast. So when is it going to be released?
Okay, so if you want to find me, my Twitter is, or the Twitter for the podcast is the Mind Wanderers Podcast, which is @mind_wanderers. And then if you're looking for it on Instagram, it's Mind Wanderers Podcast again. And in regards to when the podcast is going to be out, I've recorded the first episode, hopefully going to record second episode very soon, and that should be out within the next couple weeks. The podcast is effectively, it's an eclectic podcast which takes inspiration from different sources. We're going to be tackling different topics, different themes, different ideas, and it's just a place for you guys to take some information that might not necessarily be used in your day-to-day lives, but then it's something for you to maybe have a conversation, build a rapport with someone who does find interest in that topic effectively. So what I feel like people come away from the podcast with is you'll feel like you're a more well-rounded individual. And I also want every episode to come through with a, oh shit, swear. I didn't even know that. So it's gonna be, so I want people to come away with that, and then also to just find interest in different conversations, different topics that aren't part of everyday conversations.
Okay.
Did you know those ones?
Yeah, did you know? I am doing that. Mind Wanderers, like there's one I'll give you guys hardcore. Sorry, there's one guy called Dan Carlin, Hardcore Histories, and I think that's where that
about 5 hours.
5 hours, 4 hours, like, and stuff like that. Just like literally, it's incredible.
Yeah,
Like, it's just incredible. Podcasts are incredible, but it's just, yeah. So anyway, My 100 podcast. Hopefully you guys will see it soon. And yeah. Anton Ola would definitely be on it. Without a doubt. I'm tagging them in. I'm tagging you in. I'm tagging you in. So yeah. So you guys check for it.
Thank you very much. Tag Me In Podcast. That is us out for another episode. You know where to find us, guys. Tag Me In Podcast. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We can be emailed at info@tagmeinpodcast.co.uk, and you can reach us on our website, tagmeinpodcast.co.uk. Keep it locked.